The Locked On Podcast Network presents the College Sports Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in college sports. From our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. Bringing you the real story. Why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports.
Glenn Schumann's a liability. Gunnar Stockton needs to be in New York for the Heisman, and this was the most chaotic game I've ever been to in my entire life.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs.
Clint, I think it's fair to say you and I just had the perfect day in Athens, Georgia.
We had the perfect day. Started off with a nice little saunter around campus. Got to see College Game Day in action.
Got there early. Got
to meet a bunch of y'all, which was
a blast.
So great.
A blast.
Got to go tailgating.
Had a great time.
Had a great time. Morris Hall knows how to do it. They do know how to do it. Then we got into the stadium.
Yeah.
Daniel got some good seats.
Yeah, we had great seats.
And that's
when the day took a bit of a turn, if I could. That's when we started watching Georgia get absolutely pummeled, manhandled, slapped around like a rag doll, beaten like a rented mule by Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels. They were having their way with this Georgia defense. We're not going to start with how bad Glenn Schumann is. But Glenn Schumann's so bad. He's really, really bad. But that whole time that the Georgia defense was absolutely defecating on the bed, this Georgia offense, Clint, we watched drive after drive after drive after drive where Mike Bobo and Gunnar Stockton put together a performance, the likes of which, I'm not exaggerating, I've never seen in the history of my Georgia fandom. We scored every time we had the ball.
No, you mean scoring opportunities? You mean got to the red zone every time?
No. We put points on the board every time we had the ball until we took a knee and ended the game at the end. There were some penalties that hurt us.
Very weird ones.
We had to kick up some field goals that I wish we didn't have to kick. But we didn't have 3 and outs. We didn't have turnovers. We didn't punt the ball one time. We scored points every time we touched the ball. And the offense single-handedly not only saved Georgia's season, but kept us in this game and gave us a reason to believe that this team could possibly do something special this year.
I need everyone to, it's not an argument anymore. We're not based upon opinion. No. This isn't how you feel.
It's not called the reaction show, y'all.
These are 2 facts.
Okay, let's hear facts. Facts, we know, based on Auburn fans, facts have a tendency to hurt people.
They do.
They have a tendency, and you might be one of those people. So just brace yourself.
Mike Bobo is a fantastic, elite, top-level offensive coordinator. Not in the SEC, in college football.
Well, that's odd.
He single-handedly kept draining the clock, scoring points, when the best wide receiver on the team went out with an injury, probably for the year, in Colby Young. Devastating. Continuing with a rotation of offensive line, which this is the first time we've had 6 players healthy and whole. With a stable of running backs that are new and injured. Chauncey last week, Nate with the fumbling issues. He's an elite play caller in all of college football. Draining the clock, scoring points, explosive threats, wide receiver, 9 targets to tight ends, running backs averaging over 4 or 5 yards per carry. Gunnar Stockton going over 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 84% completion percentage.
26 of 31, y'all. For Gunnar Stockton, 26. of 31. Ole Miss scored. Okay.
Thing one, Mike Bobo is elite, top
Okay.
level OC.
That's the first fact that's going to
Thing
hurt some
two,
people.
Gunnar Stockton is one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC and in the nation. And if you wanted anybody else, a backup on Georgia or a starter for another team, you were dead wrong, and he doesn't fault you. He just wants you to know you're dead wrong, and I want you to know you're dead. Gunnar is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation.
Yeah, he's way better than Arch Manning, who you cried about not getting. He's way better than Carson Beck, who you cried about leaving. He's way better than Dylan Raiola, who you cried about not getting. It turns out that Gunnar is way better at football than any of those guys, and football is the thing that he does.
So he just wins games, doesn't throw interceptions, runs and throws for touchdowns instead.
What if I told you that he had 5 incompletions, and this week Carson Beck playing at home had 4 interceptions? 5 incompletions. 4 interceptions. Do you see the point that we're trying to make here?
See what we're doing here?
Okay. The Georgia offense just kept on rolling out the points. You understand? Like, the offensive line, you mentioned 6 guys healthy. Clint, I think that's huge. Colby Young goes down with an injury. But what do we see? We see more tight end involvement in this game. Would we have seen so much targeting of Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky if Colby Young hadn't gotten injured on the second play of the game or whatever? We don't know. We saw more tight end involvement. We saw another catch by Nate Frazier out of the backfield, something that it's like we only wanted to throw it to Cash Jones, and that's it until the last couple of weeks. All of a sudden, Auburn and now Ole Miss, we're throwing it to Nate Frazier out of the backfield. Nate Frazier had an incredible game running the football paired with Chauncey Bowens. It was all clicking on the offensive side of the ball. This is one of the best Georgia offenses I have ever seen.
Yes, because again, I don't want to belabor the point, but you try to load the box to stop the run game.
Sure.
I get it. I understand. Hey, why don't you hit him with a quick screen and watch Zachariah Branch do okie doke all around y'all all day long?
By the way, the quick screen haters. I don't know where.
Daniel,
I don't know where.
Daniel, I'm just getting this in. I'm hearing silence on that end.
Yeah. It turns out the quick screen haters and the Mike Bobo haters just won.
So you hit them on the quick screen to get out and going. What if they press up?
Pro press coverage.
Okay. Why don't we just watch seam routes and London Humphreys, and we send Zachariah Branch, and we send Noah Thomas, and we send Elias Williams.
We got guys wide open over the middle. Well, what if they bring the safeties down in the middle of the field, and we've got to go over the top to the outside? Do we have anybody who makes unbelievable circus one-handed catches while there's guys draped all over his body now multiple times?
50-50 ball on the outside?
Dylan Bell, listen, come in close.
Please.
We are sorry about everything that Clint has said about you, Dylan Bell.
We're as sorry as I look as ugly in person. That's how sorry we are.
It's sorry. Okay, if you weren't with us today at the tailgate, it's sorry. The Georgia offense, Clint, saved our season tonight.
Literally, this is overreaction.
Yeah,
that's not overreaction.
No, you go 5-2 with this schedule, and you're talking about this defense is going to have to go undefeated the rest of the way. I got bad news for you, Georgia fans. Florida, I'm scared to death. Texas, I'm scared to death. Mississippi State, I'm legitimately nervous.
That's a good offensive
Georgia Tech, I'm legitimately nervous / scared to death. Georgia's not going undefeated the rest of the way. All right, 10-2.
One of those.
10-2. Make the college football playoff. That's what we said we needed to do. The Georgia offense saving this game in a setting where we saw 5 consecutive offensive possessions for Ole Miss in touchdowns, and it wasn't even really that close, Clint.
No.
In a game like that, we're going to talk about the defense in the next segment. What the Georgia offense did not only won us this game, but it saved the season. It kept all of our hopes alive, and it made you start to think, I know the defense. I know the defense.
We're all very well acquainted right now.
But this offense makes you think this Georgia team could be something legitimately special.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
The Cardinals pick off Carson Beck not once, not twice, but 4 times on Friday night.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals.
I don't know about you all, but I am still over the moon after this victory. Here we are a couple days later, and just the vibes, the morale from the fan base, just got a jolt of adrenaline. It's awesome to see, and I'm hoping that this is one of those building or the foundation building victories for the team as they go into the back half of the schedule. They've got Boston College this weekend, and we will, of course, preview that matchup when it comes. But looking at this game from Friday, and I went back and rewatched it, and after the second watch, I came away even more impressed than I was in real time with the Cardinals defense. All season long, it's been, Louisville bent and didn't break. There have been a couple possessions in almost every game where you're like, man, that was a really tough look for Ron English's unit. But when you look at the overall body of work, it's really hard to complain. This was the most impressive performance from the Cardinals defense, maybe in Ron English's tenure here since Jeff Brom's been back. It was a spectacular performance. They gave up 21 points. Even more impressive when you consider that 7 of those points, well, technically 8 of those points, because they got the 2-point conversion. 8 of those points came from the short field. Isaac Brown fumbles the ball. Miami starts their drive inside the Louisville 15. It's really hard to stop an offense like that when they start their own drive in your own red zone. But anyway, Louisville's defense bent but didn't break at times. They had some rough plays. They gave up some big plays. But for the most part, 334 total yards given up, 271 passing, and only 63 rushing. 21 points is the lowest amount of points that Miami has scored this season. And a lot of that is because of the turnovers. Carson Beck threw 4 interceptions on Friday night. Now, most of the Miami fan base will tell you that, Carson Beck gave the game away to the Cardinals. He gifted them 4 turnovers. And let's go through the interceptions because, there is some truth to it. I think Beck made some bad decisions. He made some bad throws. But you got to give Louisville credit for forcing him to do that. And even though the pass rush didn't get home a ton, the pressures were there. The first interception was in the first quarter. Beck throws it deep. It looks like it's almost triple coverage. And 50-50, Antonio Watts goes up, makes an impressive catch, and comes down with the interception. A little bit underthrown. Sort of like the second one. Pass is underthrown slightly. Jabari Mack makes a great play on the football and wins the 50-50 battle. The third interception came in the second half from JoJo Evans, and it was a couple plays after Carson Beck had thrown his third interception. And then all of a sudden, you knew it. You knew it when the ACC officials huddled up. And you're like, oh, goodness, they're huddling up. Cleb Lubin hit Carson Beck almost simultaneously after the throw. Didn't seem like there was much extracurriculars to the pressure, but they huddled up after the fact and dropped the roughing the passer flag. Everyone on social media, outside of Miami fans, were like, here we go. 2024 ACC officials once again working to get Miami to the playoff. And then in an ultimate ball don't lie moment, Carson Beck throws his third interception, this time to JoJo Evans. And I think a lot of this was because of the interior pressure. Louisville got home to Carson Beck from the middle of that defensive line, and it forced him to release the ball sooner. He throws, I would say, an ill-advised pass into pretty much double coverage, and JoJo Evans intercepts the pass. The fourth interception, I don't know if this is AI, but if that interview is real where Carson Beck says, there's a miscommunication, tight end ran the wrong route. Regardless, the ball is partially tipped. Even if it wasn't, TJ Capers was in a fantastic spot, made a shoestring catch. Great focus. And he seals the game with the fourth interception. The Cardinals on Friday night had a coverage grade of 86.3. That is a very, very solid coverage grade against a good Miami offense, because we heard all week about how Louisville's defense did not stand a chance. They didn't stand a chance. Miami was the most physical team that Louisville would see by far. They would get dominated in the trenches. They wouldn't be able to cover Miami's skill position guys. And to be fair, Malachi Toney is an absolute star. And Carson Beck was going to pick them apart. They weren't going to be able to stop the Miami offense from running the football. And looking at this, Miami ran the ball for 63 yards on Friday night. And the Cardinals didn't register a single sack. So that doesn't incorporate any sack yardage into the equation. They had 2.6 yards per carry. Mark Fletcher, 8 for 18. Jordan Lau, 5 for 15. Shamar Brown, 3 for 9. And I saw Miami fans complaining about the offensive play calling, and there is some truth to that, because Miami just seemingly didn't want to try to establish the run early in series. So maybe there's some complaints there. But I felt like the interior of Louisville's defensive line deserves a good amount of praise from this performance, because even though they didn't get a sack, the Cardinals' defensive line stood pat. They were solid in defending the run. Like, the run defense was a 63.6 grade. And I don't agree with everything PFF says. I think it is a metric, not the metric. I use it to support what I see watching the games. But I think that the run defense was much better than the 63.6 grade. Tackling 52.7, I think that was a little low. Pass rush 67.8, which is an average grade. And for a team that got no sacks, I think that that's pretty justified. But the interior got home. Cleve Lubin was disruptive. Wesley Bailey was disruptive. But even though they weren't turning those into sacks, because Miami's offensive line is very, very good, what they did do was speed up Carson Beck. And that was a point of emphasis going into this weekend. It's like, hey, look, you needed to make Carson Beck uncomfortable, because coming into the game, he was getting a clean pocket on pretty much 85% of his dropbacks. He had been sacked 4 times in the first 5 games. Miami's offensive line still did what they needed to do, but the Cardinals got more pressure. Carson Beck didn't seem interested in going with the checkdowns, and maybe that's a reason for it. Tried to go for the home run ball, and Louisville was really solid in the secondary. And there are a lot of kudos that you have to give. Over 10 players recorded at least 3 tackles. TJ Quinn, D'Angelo Hutchinson, Jordan Girard, Tay Holloway, JoJo Evans, Renee Conga, Antonio Watts, Jabari Mack, TJ Capers, Cleve Lubin, Caleb Perry, Wesley Bailey. Like, this was a great performance from all 3 levels of the defense. The defensive line, the linebacking core, and the secondary. Like, I credit to them. Credit to Ron English as well. And we're going to we gave some credit to him on Friday. Going to continue to give him his flowers, because there was a ton of criticism over the offseason when he got brought back for a 3rd season, and myself included, right? So I will happily eat crow, but as loud as the criticism was, I think the praise has to be just as loud, if not louder. He has turned things around, I think, in the name of just keeping things simple, better communication. The defense showed improvement when he wasn't up in the box last year, but down on the field. Just overall,
excited about what we've seen through the first 6 games. This is a top 20 defense that the Cardinals are putting out on the field every single week, and it's time to start admitting that. So huge amounts of credit to the Cardinals defense.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
It says a lot about your team when you beat 4 SEC ranked teams in a row.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Really just a great job by the fans last night, staying involved. And you pointed out something last night, and I slept on this, that coming out of the tunnel, DeBoer looked so much different than he has in some other times where, you know, if somebody wanted to have a real complaint about DeBoer, maybe, you know, that he kept Jalen Milroe too long. Some people complained about that. Or that he didn't have us fired up for some certain games that we should have been. Those are legitimate. But I think the prevailing complaint was like, we don't just seem to know a ton about him. He hadn't been as fiery as we'd like. I think he's changed that narrative. He has been fiery lately. And this particular game, he comes out, he's punching the foam around the goalpost. He's getting in Ty Simpson's face when Ty had that one terrible play. I'm loving that. So, I mean,
I think it's smack him on the butt, Saban style.
Yeah, he really did. So, I thought kudos to him, kudos to the staff. You know, and right now I'm just going sort of hodgepodge because I had to wake up extra early just to see some of the highlights so I could talk more about it. Another thing that stood out to me was we had a trick play, and this has happened more than once this year. We are determined to throw some kind of Jeremy Bernard pass. By God, we're going to do it. We did it against Georgia, but it didn't go for the length we want. It really went for like 4 yards, and then we were going to do a different one against Georgia, which didn't work out. But we tried one here against Tennessee, and it looked like he was going to try and throw it back to Ty, but Jeremy very wisely saw a Tennessee dude there and was like, uh-oh. And so he just starts taking off. I'm not so sure Jeremy Bernard's not our best running back with the moves he has. Like between tackles, no.
You play him like a running back, it tends to be productive, which is a strange look for us because we're not very productive from running back. I mean, there was comments last night. I mean, obviously it's the number one problem on the team as far as I'm concerned is lack of production from the running back position. And there were people saying last night, like a quote that I saw was like, we found our running back, referring to the fact that Daniel Hill did give us a bit of a spark late in the game. Daniel Hill had like 34 yards on 7 carries. Which is fine. That's fine. But it's not like it only took that to win people over. 35 yards or 34 yards on 7 carries. It's the number one problem, I think, on this team. It's a combination of lack of production from the running back position in relation to maybe some problems blocking up front in the run game. But apart from the negativity loop, the offensive line was spectacular. No sacks. They gave up no sacks to the league's top pass rush in terms of number of sacks. They gave up 0. And I think it's related myself between not being able to run the ball and not giving up sacks. I think our constant juggling on the offensive line, I've been talking about for weeks on the show, has been an effort to find the 5 best pass blockers because that's how this team's going to have success. Clearly is throwing the football to that great wide receiver core. And we've got to protect the quarterback to do that. And I think all that juggling on the offensive line has resulted in, okay, pretty good pass protection group now, but maybe not the best run blocking group. Or maybe we should say maybe it's just simply the emphasis on pass pro. But the pass pro A++ last night, run blocking, not so much. But hey, if it's perfect, then all that happens is you get bumped up to the NFL, and then we'd never win games.
The run blocking is bad, and I'm not sure our running backs are great at dealing with that. In the past, there have been some running backs that even when their blocking's bad, they have a way of finding some yardage. Our running backs, that's just not what they're built for. Jam Miller is built for make a hole of some description. I'm going to go get you 3.5 yards, which is great. Kevin Riley's like, I need a little bit bigger hole, and I'm going to need a little help past that probably. Daniel Hill is very north-south. Like you said, I had so many people tell me, what about Daniel Hill? Because they know I've been loving me some Daniel Hill for a while. And I was like, yeah, I'm really excited, but I think you put it best. I'm only super excited because my expectations were so low. These low set expectations have made it where I'm like, Daniel Hill's going to be a star, but 7 carries for 34 yards isn't exactly lighting the world on fire, especially when he did it late in the game when they really hadn't seen him. So we were sort of like, they didn't even have a chance to get adjusted to his style. But I'll say this, Daniel Hill ran his butt off. He put his head down and he tried to get extra yards. I appreciated that.
Yeah, I almost say that he, and you hate that it's switching up every week, but it's almost a desperation, trying to find some production there. I would say he sort of moved ahead of Kevin Riley last night, certainly in my eyes, is maybe the guy that should be at least the second running back behind Jam. And Jam, I don't want to be too tough on him. I know he didn't have the greatest of nights, but Jam probably didn't practice very much all week as he was recovering from the concussion. I think when you don't practice much during the week, it really shows up on Saturday. A good non-Alabama example would be a couple of weeks ago when Mateer didn't practice all week. They stuck him out there on Saturday against Texas, and they lost. It's tough when you didn't practice during the week. It's tough to perform on Saturdays, and I think that probably explains some of the Jam Miller issues. But next Saturday against South Carolina, that should be an opportunity for the run game to have some production. They're not a fantastic defense or run defense, so we'll see what Alabama can cobble together over the next 7 days. But it's the biggest problem on the team as I see it is the run game on offense.
We'll talk about South Carolina all week long, but one thing, I believe South Carolina may be the one team in this stretch we're catching at a good time. They had another loss where they just looked putrid offensively at home. They've also lost against LSU where they looked putrid offensively, and the defense sort of kept them in it for a while. And now looking back, they've got to say, we could have beaten that LSU team with just any help from the offense. So I wonder if South Carolina has passed the line of demarcation where it's, especially in these day and times when you have more room for error, but you've committed so many errors now, there's no way you can make the playoffs. And you're sort of like, maybe we just mail it in. And so maybe that will be South Carolina. I don't know.
That may be happening. My concern, trust me, I always find something to worry about. Alabama's focus has had to be so ratcheted up, playing 4 ranked opponents in a row in the first team in SEC history to beat 4 ranked opponents in a row without an off week somewhere in the mix. And now you're playing the quote, and I'm using air quotes for those listening on podcast, the easy game. Now we have an easy opponent. They're not easy. It won't be easy. You know what? They have SEC football players. A lot of them are good. They have a quarterback that some people have talked about being a first-round pick. Lenore Sellers, and I mean this as a compliment to him. He's always reminded me of Jalen Milroe. I mean as a compliment. We've seen as Alabama fans, Milroe at his very best basically put the entire team on his back and win a game. Lenore Sellers is capable of that. So I don't see this as easy. I hope the team doesn't see it as easy, but I think it's natural human tendency after playing 4 ranked teams. And then, like Luke said, you're catching South Carolina at a good time. If Alabama relaxes, you're in another 60-minute game.
Because the other side of that is, and like I said, it's just my belief we're catching it at a good time. I would say there is a chance that South Carolina is so PO'd and frustrated that they're like, we got to take this out on somebody.
They
And
can
we
save
come
it.
strolling in, a little bit banged up, a little bit, reading our own press clippings, and then we lose this one, and all that goodwill's out the arena. But I do want to talk.
The goalposts come down if they beat Alabama. So,
Oh yeah,
So it's I think it's going to be a challenge for the team to get up for the fifth consecutive game you're playing in 5 weeks, and it's on the road in a pretty tough environment against a quarterback that is, again, sometimes projected as a first-round pick.